Oh, hold on. I'm getting it. I just got a message on Signal from the Trump team. What's that? Oh, they say, Mark Kaye, you should primary Rhino Representative John Rutherford in 2026. Yes, sir, Mr. President and Team Trump. I can't tell you who's on this chat. I'll just say that looks like they're all code now. I got JD. I don't know who that could be. I got Mar. I don't know if that stands for Marco Alberto Rubio. Could. Pardon me. And then JM, which could be Jason Miller. What's up? This is Mark Kaye saves the Republic. You know, I don't trust any of this. What's this hoopla about the team text or the Team Trump Signal? Which, by the way, how many people do you think downloaded the Signal app today? Well, this is the kind of publicity that the Signal app. I don't know if they needed publicity. I've had the Signal app for a while. I never use it because I don't really have any top secret plans. I have plans, but I'm not really good at keeping secrets. I don't know if you know this about me. I got a big mouth. So I don't really keep secrets. I don't have any top secrets. If something's going to happen or if I'm going to do something, I just say it. Like, for example, I say to myself, you know what? My congressman's horrible and he votes with the Democrats and he made himself rich off the backs of the voters in District 5. Maybe somebody should primary him and maybe it should be me. That's what I just say that. I just say it out loud. And I got a big mouth. So I don't really see it. My mouth is so big that I say things twice. But I don't ever keep things under the close to the vest, under the belt. Where do you keep things? See, I don't even know where to keep things. So I don't really use top secret apps. If I text something and it gets out there, oh well, I'm not going to hide behind anything because I probably meant to say it. And most of my life has been lived on a microphone or in front of a camera. In fact, I treat my entire life like I'm being recorded because my entire life, pretty much, I've been recorded. Also, that is a great rule of thumb, especially in this day and age. If you say something on a mobile app, if you text somebody something, if you say something in public, make sure you pretend like you're always being recorded. Because trust me, growing up in radio stations for the last, 30 years, you never know when somebody's listening. In fact, this is I knew somebody who was paranoid, and I know what you're thinking. Mark Kaye, you're paranoid. True. But somebody who's even more paranoid than I am. And by the way, paranoia is not a bad thing. I envy people who are paranoid. I mean, I'm paranoid. I'm like this. If this is like a totally non-paranoid person and I'm holding my hand like right down on the ground, I'm like about mid to upper paranoid. I don't trust anybody. I think everybody's out to get me. I think everybody's has an agenda. And that all comes, by the way, from experience. But I'm a little paranoid, but I really envy people who are like super paranoid. The people who, I don't even want to call them conspiracy theorists, but the people who live and breathe, the people that every single news story, they know what's happening or they have some theory about it. Every time something breaks, the person goes, you know what that means? And I go, what? And they go, end of the world. And I go, wait, what? How does that mean the end of the world? Egg prices are down. They go, yeah. And then all of a sudden, egg prices are down means the end of the world. And they have a really well thought out, paranoid sounding theory to back it up. I envy those people because I think those people are going to survive when the rest of us are long, long gone. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being there for us, that you can protect us. And I know that my goal in life one day is to be as paranoid as those people, but I digress. But anyway, so back to the Signal app. I imagine a lot of people have downloaded the Signal app today. So the paranoia. There was one person I worked with in the radio station. Whenever they went into a room to have a conversation, they would walk around and they would unplug all the microphones. There's a little plug here, and they would just walk around and unplug every single microphone before they had a conversation, which sucked for me because I like to secretly record people. I did that all the time. Every time somebody would walk into a room and I knew a conversation was going to go in a way that later on the veracity of that conversation could actually be questioned, I would just secretly, the people I used to work with, they can tell you this too, I would just secretly reach over and hit a button so that nobody would even know. I knew all the buttons to push so that I could record somewhere and nobody people would be none the wiser until a later date. And I'm all about that too. I don't care if there's a two-way rule. I don't care at all. You walk into a radio station, yes, it's getting recorded. You walk into this room, just know You have no expectation of privacy here. And I know all the rules about expectations of privacy because I've talked to a lot of lawyers as well. Anyway, we'll get to this whole Signal story here in just a minute, but there's a couple things I want to say first of all. First of all, thank you to whoever just sent me that $20. Somebody just sent me a $20 super chat. Jeff Tim? Oh, look, Jeff Tim said it's not even super chat time. We're gonna have to get back to super chat time because I really appreciate all these super chats and the Rumble rants that I've been getting, and I've not designated a portion of the program near the end to make sure that I'm adequately thanking people for those. So we're going to get back to that. If you'd like to leave us a super chat in the YouTube or a Rumble rant on the Rumble, we will make sure that we get to that sometime today. But anyway, Jeff Tim, I appreciate it, buddy. A $20 super chat with the caption, "Run, Mark, run. Run, Mark, run." That's either a Forrest Gump reference or a reference to Donald Trump whenever he endorses a can. I'm going to go with the latter. I'm going to go with the Trump, not the Gump. But both Trump and Gump have utilized that phrase, "Run, Mark, run." So I appreciate that. Anyway, thank you so much, Jeff. If anyone else would like to leave one, it's very simple to do. All you have to do is click the little Rumble rant area. There's a little dollar sign or something. Or the other thing you can do is if you're on YouTube, you can always just click the little button there, and we'll get those out. We'll get to your thank yous as well. And cool, this is cool too. All the proceeds from everything we do here on the show, whether you're joining the Kayetriot Club or you're just throwing cash at us, all of that money goes right back into the program because we are independent. We are independent broadcasters, and by we, I mean me, because I'm the only one sitting here right now. So anything and everything you can do to support us, well, supports us and the show, and it makes it able for us to come here every single day at noon, fire up the old camera, fire up the audio, fire up the microphones, and broadcast all of this truth to you. And there's a lot of disparity. There's a lot of, let's just say non-truth out there, and we want to make sure that you get the actual truth. And we want to make sure that you get it quickly and in a way that you can easily explain it or understand it. So we're going to get to all that here in just a minute. I would like to start, though, with a couple of clips, actually, from one of my least favorite / favorite Congress people, Jasmine Crockett. And I'd like to preface this by saying my wife said, please don't give that woman any more attention, but I can't help it. This is what she's really good at garnering attention for herself, and everybody is talking about her, and I am not an outlier. I am basic. I'm a basic B word. So I'm going to do my best to follow the to follow the flock. Jasmine Crockett, who is, one of the angriest and most vulgar and vile people ever to be elected to Congress. She's reached even a new low in discussing Governor Greg Abbott from Texas, who happens to be in a wheelchair. Here's what she said about him at some kind of human rights initiative.
In these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Yeah, it's the human rights campaign. She's at something called the Human Rights Campaign, and she's making fun of a handicapped individual who also happens to be the governor of her state. That is Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott years ago was running through the woods, and a tree fell on him and crushed his spine, either crushed his spine or his legs, but left him paralyzed from the waist down. And he's no longer able to utilize his leg. He can't walk at all, which is one of the reasons why I never run through the woods or ever. And that's why one of the reasons I don't run at all. But Greg Abbott, he was running through the woods. A tree fell on him, crushed him, left him wheelchair bound for the remainder of his life. And the guy still managed to be elected governor of Texas. And the guy still managed to be one of the strongest governors we have. And the guy still managed to stop illegal immigration. He managed to secure the border. He managed to stand up to all of these illegal cartels and everybody else who's coming into the United States of America illegally. The guy's an amazing inspiration. Jasmine Crockett calls him Governor Hot Wheels.
We in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess. ass, honey. So yes.
Now, I'm going to take her word for it, because if anybody knows what a hot ass mess is, it's Jasmine Crockett. Because later in this same speech, it's interesting. She turns the tables. She goes from making fun of a she goes from making fun of a paraplegic to crying over Kamala Harris.
Day that the person that should have been president had to deliver her concession speech, I honestly didn't know how I was going to get out of bed. When I tell y'all, I'm getting emotional, that I traveled this country because I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be this fucking bad shit, but I knew. And I knew that the obstacles were going to be even greater, because not only was it a woman, but it was a woman of color. But man, if you saw...
So I apologize for the wordy dirt. That's the thing about Jasmine Crockett. You can dress her up. You can put her in a fancy outfit. You can give her some dangly earrings. You can do her makeup and her hair. You can throw her on stage, and she's still going to cuss like a sailor. She's still going to drop those F-bombs whenever, even at the human rights campaign, she's going to drop some wordy dirts. And so I apologize if that caught anyone off guard. I know a lot of people listen at work or maybe with your kids, but don't blame me. Blame Jasmine Crockett. So in one sentence, or in one aspect of the speech, she starts making fun of a man in a wheelchair. She starts making fun of a man who overcame every obstacle to serve his fellow citizen. I mean, think about that. Think about that. A lot of people, they have an accident like that. They lose their limbs. They come back from war. They have to have something amputated. They don't have, all their faculties, and they get depressed, and they wallow, and they curl up, and they kind of withdraw from society. Greg Abbott did the opposite. Greg Abbott said, I don't care if I can't use my legs. I mean, he cares, but he goes, I don't care. I'm still going to do what I need to do. I'm still going to do what God put me here. I'm still going to serve to the best of my ability. And I'm going to, and I may not have the same ability as you do, but I have the ability to serve the people of the great state of Texas. And that's what Greg Abbott's doing. And Jasmine Crockett is making fun of him.
We in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. I'm not at all shocked or surprised. I mean, this is Jasmine Crockett's MO. This is the Democrats' MO. This is what the Democrats do. This is Al Green standing up during Donald Trump's joint speech to the joint session and screaming and yelling, "You ain't got no mandate." This is the same thing. This is Jasmine Crockett's version. By the way, both of them are from Texas. Crockett's from Dallas, Green's from Houston. What's going on with Texas? Texas, I love y'all, but you got to do better, man. You got to do better than Crockett and Green. You got to do better than these people. And then 5 seconds later, she turns around and she starts crying. She starts crying because Kamala Harris lost the election, and she's been around the country and filth, foul, filth, mother, filth, and foul. I've never met anybody who cried and cussed in the same sentence like that. And this, of course, comes a week after she said, all I want for my birthday is for Elon Musk to be taken down, which, by the way, made it all the way to the Attorney General's office. The Department of Justice now has the tape. They understand. They know. They heard the threat. And Pam Bondi was on with, what's that guy's name? Sean Hannity. And she mentioned, oh, yeah, we know what Jasmine Crockett said about Elon Musk. We know what Jasmine Crockett did on that live call. We know that Jasmine Crockett was inciting violence against Tesla, its employees, its businesses, its products, and its president. And we are watching out for Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, Sean, it is. And after she said that about Elon, she said, well, I didn't mean violence. But, however, your words have consequences. And what happened after she said that about Elon Musk, she's a Texan in her own home state. After she said that, this morning, 3 explosive devices were found in Austin, Texas. So she needs to unequivocally denounce the violence. She must apologize immediately, not only to all Texans, but to our country, to the American shareholders of Tesla, because she is promoting violence. And then you showed the clip of what she said about Senator Cruz. I believe she probably will be censured by Congress for saying that. You know, people don't learn. She's using her public persona, her public platform to increase her followers, to increase her significance, and she is threatening lives, safety. You know, when she did this at Tesla, Sean, people's lives are in danger. This is America. We're in a free country, and she's yet encouraging this violence in our country. Think of all the lives that could have been jeopardized in Texas just today by her words and what she's done. But she didn't stop with that. She continued on with Senator Cruz. She has to apologize immediately and denounce the violence.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about what she said. She also said you got to bop Senator Ted Cruz in the head or something like that. Well, you know what? You know what? We'll just listen to it in our own words. And this one I know. I pre-screened this one, so I know this one. There's no wordy dirts in this. I don't think. I apologize in advance if one slips out.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think, and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right?
Okay, so sorry. So Jasmine Crockett, an elected congresswoman, which still baffles. I say, listen, if this woman can get elected to Congress, this should be a cakewalk for me. I'm just saying, if Jasmine Crockett can get elected to Congress over and over, I shouldn't have a problem. Maybe I need to start cussing and threatening people. I'll see what the polls say. That's not going to be my MO, but we'll see what the polls say. But Jasmine Crockett says Elon Musk needs to be taken down. I want you to take down Elon Musk. Then she says Ted Cruz got to be hit on the head hard. You got to punch him. You got to punch Ted Cruz. You got to hit him in the head. You got to do it hard. And then she sees Greg Abbott in a wheelchair and goes, "What's up, Hot Wheels?" And we're supposed to take this woman seriously. And Pam Bondi's saying, look, she's doubling down on the violence. She's doubling down on this rhetoric. She's using her position to try to become an influencer. She's trying to garner more support on her Instagram and on her TikTok so that maybe one day she can write a book, or she can, get brand deals for makeup or I don't know, I don't know what you would, maybe like rehab, maybe anger management. That's what she needs. She needs an anger management brand deal. If we could get her one of those, but she's bringing down Congress, and she's rousing up violent extremists. And in Texas, Pam Bondi's right. By the way, there was a story: Austin Tesla dealership bomb investigation, suspicious devices found. The Austin Police Department says it is investigating after suspicious devices were found at a Tesla dealership in North Austin. When the officers arrived, they found suspicious devices. The APD bomb squad was called in to investigate. The devices were determined to be incendiary, which means, boom, they're going to explode, and were taken into police custody without incident. Police say this is an ongoing investigation. Austin City Council member Krista Lane's office released a statement in response to the incident. Lane represents District 6, where the dealership is located. She said this morning, APD officers responded to a call, blah, 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 blah. I strongly condemn any action that puts the people of Austin in danger, no matter the motivation. Violence of any kind is unacceptable. I am deeply relieved that no one was hurt during this incident, and I'm in discussion with APD Chief Lisa Davis, blah, 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 blah. Attorney General Ken Paxton wrote, the wave of domestic terrorism targeted at Tesla and the radical liberals encouraging these politically motivated attacks are sick and twisted. I stand ready to assist in any way to bring these perpetrators to justice. And Senator John Cornyn, who attacks against Tesla being carried out by leftists with Trump derangement syndrome are outrageous. I'm glad to hear AG Pam Bondi. And then he says, my full thoughts on Fox News with Faulkner Focus. So he's just pimping himself. But look, Jasmine, is this a coincidence that Jasmine Crockett says, I want for my birthday for Elon Musk to be taken down, and then in her home state of Texas, there's 3 bombs found at a Tesla dealership? Look, when Ted Cruz gets hit over the head by some wackadoodle lunatic leftist liberal, we know where someone's got to round up Jasmine Crockett, because she may not have been the perpetrator of the incident, but she definitely was the instigator of the incident. And man, I gotta tell you, if you want to talk about a hot ass mess,
we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. So that's your Jasmine Crockett update. And and the Democrat, they're not going to let up on this. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to do everything that they have, and they are going to try to take down President Donald Trump. They're going to try to attack the people that are helping President Donald Trump. They're going to try to embarrass President Donald Trump, and they're going to try to embarrass everybody that helps him, which brings us to the story about the signal leak. The signal leak by Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. I got to be honest with you. This story, when I read this yesterday, the first thing I thought to myself was, clearly this is... Okay, let me recap. We'll start at the beginning. If you haven't heard this story, by the way, it's a pretty good one, but never, ever, ever, ever take anything at face value. And by the way, before I begin this story, let me also thank Cesar Garcia, who wrote Super Chat, Run Mark Rum, my friend. $10 from Cesar Garcia. We appreciate that on the YouTube today with a YouTube super chat. Run Mark Rum, my friend. I don't think that was a Freudian slip. I think that was actually, I will definitely rum Cesar Garcia. I really appreciate it. And I do appreciate the support in the super chat as well. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. I was like, oh, I am going to rum. I am going to rum. I'm going to rum. You and me, Cesar, let's rum. We're going to rum this town. All right, anyway, back to the story. So here's how this story went down. There was an article yesterday in The Atlantic. The Atlantic, by the way, is a left-wing lunatic liberal rag. It is an online bastion of anti-Trump propaganda, has been for a long time. These people are pro-Biden. They're the mouthpiece of the Democrat Party. They're all unhinged, and they all hate Donald Trump. So I always take everything that they write with a grain of, with like a whole block of salt. But yesterday there was an article by Jeffrey Goldberg, who I believe is the editor of this thing. I think that's correct. Jeffrey Goldberg wrote an article, and the article that appeared in The Atlantic was titled, "The Trump Administration Accidentally Texted Me Its War Plans." Now that headline's very important. We'll come back to it in a minute. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling. Now, you may remember last Saturday, in the middle of the night, President Donald Trump ordered strikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Why? Because they were bombing American warships and cargo ships, and they were making a mockery of the United States and its military superiority, and they were trying to keep people from running through the Red Sea because that's the quickest cargo route. They want them to go all the way around Africa, and we were like, no, we ain't playing that. And if you don't leave our ships alone, we're going to bomb you. So Donald Trump did exactly that. Well, Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic says he was in a Signal chat. And for those of you that don't know what Signal is a secured, I guess you would say, texting platform. Again, I think they probably got a lot of users. They probably got a lot of users today. But Signal, speak freely, say hello to a different messaging experience, an unexpected focus on privacy combined with all of the features you expect. Why use Signal? Share without insecurity. Signal says state-of-the-art end-to-end encryption powered by the open source Signal protocol keeps your conversations secure. We can't read your messages or listen to your calls, and no one else can either. Privacy isn't an optional mode. It's just the way that Signal works. Every message, every call, every time. Share text, voice messages, photos, videos. Signal uses your phone's data connection so you can avoid SMS and MMS fees. Speak freely. Make crystal clear voice and video calls to people who live across town or across the ocean with no long distance charges.
Make privacy stick. Add a new layer of expression to your conversations with encrypted stickers. You can also create and share your own sticker packs. Get together with groups. Group chats make it easy to stay connected to your family. And, it's all kind of stuff. But there's no ads. There's no trackers. It's free for everyone. And it's one of the most secure ways to text people that there is. So anyway, what happens is, apparently, according to Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Mike Waltz, the NSA director, also Tulsi Gabbard. Who else was in on this thing? I'm trying to remember. Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, somebody with the initials JM, who they believe to be Jason Miller. All these people were in a text chat. And they added him for some reason. Nobody really knows why he was added. Nobody knows really if he was added. I'm sure it was accidental. But here's what he wrote. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:45 a.m. War plan. There's that wording again. The plan included precise information about weapons, packages, targets, and timing. This is going to require some explaining. Oh no! Now they want me to. Now they put it behind a paywall. Anyway, so basically what happens is this guy says that he was inadvertently added to this group by Mike Waltz, the NSA director, National Security Advisor. And Mike Waltz, a good friend of our show, good friend of mine, former congresswoman from District 6 right down the road. And Mike Waltz is he's tantamount to the national security plans for the United States of America. And he is one of the guys who has been right. I mean, he is Donald Trump's right-hand man when it comes to all these things. And so now Jeffrey Goldberg says, well, Mike Waltz added me to this group and they started texting back and forth and they were talking about all these private things and they were talking about all these war plans. Oh yeah. And they were bagging on Europe and they were talking about how Europe's a bunch of freeloaders. In fact, let me go to the free version of this here. Here it is. The New York Times has it. Here's what happened. Trump administration officials haven't kept their disdain for Europe quiet, but the contempt seems to be even louder behind closed doors. Europeans reacted with a mix of exasperation and anger to the publication of parts of a discussion between top-ranking Trump administration officials carried out on the messaging app Signal. The discussion about a planned strike on Yemen was replete with comments that painted Europeans as geopolitical parasites. And was revealed on Monday in The Atlantic, whose editor was inadvertently included in the conversation. Quote, "I just hate bailing out the Europeans again," wrote Vice President J.D. Vance, asserting that the strikes would benefit Europe far more than the United States. "I fully share your loathing of European freeloading," Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, later replied. "It's pathetic." By the way, I wish I were on this text exchange. The exchange seemed to show real feelings and judgments that the Europeans are mooching and that any American military action, no matter how clear in American interests as well, should be somehow paid for by other beneficiaries. A member of the chat identified as SM and believed to be Stephen Miller. Yeah, pardon me. I said Jason Miller earlier. I meant Stephen Miller. There's so many Millers in the Trump administration. A top aide to President Trump. A member of the chat identified as SM and believed to be Stephen Miller, a top aide to President Trump, suggested that both Egypt and Europe should compensate the United States for the operation. If Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return, SM wrote. Now, again, I don't know if SM actually wrote that, but it sounds like exactly the kind of thing. That sounds like exactly the kind of thing Stephen Miller would say. The apparent disregard by administration officials of security protocols by having such a discussion, which included operational details on a consumer chat app, even an encrypted one, prompted concern that Russia and China could be listening in. Putin is now unemployed. No point in spying anymore. Natalie Lusso, a member of the European Parliament, wrote on X, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so on this group chat with all of these Trump officials who are planning and plotting a bombing attack of the Houthis, they're discussing Europe and how they're a bunch of freeloaders and how we're always bailing them out and how we're always paying for their stuff and how they always reap the rewards of having a strong American military do all the dirty work around the world. And they never pony up. The check comes and Uncle Sam looks around and goes, fine, just bring it over. I'll just take care of it again. Thanks, guys. And Slane goes, you guys could at least throw in for tip. And you know what the Europeans are go, oh, no, tip is included. I don't know. We don't tip in France. We just pay the bill. Oh. That's what they do. And that's how the French speak about those kinds of things. And so what happened was this Jeffrey Goldberg, who's this reporter, he's sitting there and he's reading these messages. And think about this. This guy clearly is not supposed to be in this text chat. He's clearly not supposed to be in this group. This is clearly not something he should be privy to. And so as soon as he realizes, hey, I probably shouldn't be here, what does he do? Does he remove himself from the group? Does he write back, hey guys, Jeff Goldberg from The Atlantic here, probably should remove me from this group? He writes an article about it. He takes screenshots. He publishes it. He says, this is horrible. The Trump team, get this is the hypocrisy of the left. He goes, this is so horrible. It's a national security disgrace. They're putting everybody in harm's way. I shouldn't have this information. I'm not an insider privy to this. I should not be privy to these war plans. What should I do? I know, I'll publish them on the internet so everybody and their mother can read them. This is not a guy who cares about America. This is not a guy who cares about the United States and her security and her allies. He's out there saying, you know what? These people shouldn't be talking about Europe this way. These people shouldn't be talking about Europe being pathetic, freeloading parasites. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure everybody in Europe knows they're talking about it. That'll really cure it. That'll be a fix. What a loathsome human being this guy, Jeffrey Goldberg, is. But again, he's not only the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, he's a Democrat. And we know all about Democrats. He even posted and made fun of the emojis they use. Mike Waltz apparently used a fist bump emoji and an American flag emoji and a fire emoji or something like that in one point. And so, and he made fun of that in the article. He wasn't the only one. In fact, Representative Moskowitz from right here in Florida, they were doing a hearing this morning. They were talking to Tulsi Gabbard and somebody else. I forget who it was. And he made a joke. In fact, he had, this is your tax dollars at work, by the way. He had someone on his staff run out to Kinko's and make a placard with the exact emojis so that he could make a joke about it in the congressional hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's always good, like when we have something that's bipartisan, to point it out because it happens so little around here anymore. But rather than giving like a really big, long speech, I feel like I could just use this, and this will tell you that I think it's good, right? So like that's a fist, American flag, fire. So I'll just, from now on, when we do things where like we agree, I'll just hold this up rather than giving like a really big long speech. So job well done, guys.
Would the gentleman yield?
Oh, sure, I'll yield.
But I'm not sure everybody recognizes the reference there. Would you explain where that comes from?
Yeah, so this is how when we're in like a chat with friends, right, where we're like having a casual chat about like where we're dropping missiles.
Are you talking about a public chat room?
Yeah, but like, and with friends, and we're just like, you know, hamming about who we're gonna bomb and all of that. But we agree, we fist American flag fire. So I'm holding this up. I think we could just keep the committee shorter if like when we agree, we just hold this up. Yeah.
Okay, that's Jamie Raskin, by the way, who he's talking to. Jamie Raskin from Maryland, who's also an...
I think you're supposed to have the flexed arm instead of the fist.
Hang on. He's an equally... Oh, no, I just messed it up. He's an equally despicable human being. But he's out there and he's goading them. I mean, they're like going back and forth about, they think they're the funniest people in the world because now, and this is where it gets weird because the Democrats are supposedly outraged. They want hearings. They want Senate hearings. They want Mike Waltz fired. They want Mike Waltz out of there. They want Pete Hegseth to have to answer in front of a Senate subcommittee. They want J.D. Vance's head because he thinks the Europeans are freeloaders, which, by the way, if the shoe fits, I just stick it on your foot. But and then of course that's on one hand. On the other hand, they're in there joking about it with these big emojis, and then Thomas Massey jumps in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't know why. And now it's going to be upside down. So we're not gonna be able to watch that again. But Thomas Massey jumps in and says you should need the flexed arm, and it's like it was a whole thing with them. They thought they were just hilarious. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem is, remember the title of this thing was about war plans. The title of the article was, let me pull it back up here though. And like I said, they put it behind a paywall, which I'm not blaming them because I would totally put it behind a paywall too. I mean, I am a capitalist, for crying out loud. And so the Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. That's the headline. So Pete Hegseth was asked about it, and he said, and they said, did you actually text war plans? Here's what Pete Hegseth said.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nobody was texting war plans. Nobody was texting war plans. And so this guy, Jeffrey Rosenberg, he went on. Are you ready? Wait for it. Are you ready? The left-wing lunatic liberal propagandist from The Atlantic magazine went on. That's right. MSNBC to talk with former White House press secretary Jen Peppermint Psaki about what would really happen.
Responsible here and not disclose the things that I read and saw. I will describe them to you. The specific time of a future attack, specific targets, including human targets, meant to be killed in that attack, weapon systems, even weather reports, or, that the government is I don't know why heck sharing it with everybody. I mean, the precise detail, and then a long section on sequencing. This is going to happen, then that is going to happen. After that happens, this happens, then that happens, and then we go and find out if it worked. I mean, he can say that it wasn't a war plan, but it was a minute by minute accounting of what was about to happen.
Okay, notice he's changing his word now. He said at first in the article, he called it a war plan. And now he's like, okay, it's not, he didn't say, he can say that they're war plans, or they're not war plans, but they are war plans. He goes, okay, he says they're not war plans. They are a minute by minute accounting of blah, blah, bliggity, blah. So now he's already walking back his story. Now he's already saying, okay, it was an account minute by minute. Was it a minute by minute account after the fact, during the fact, before the fact? Was it a war plan precisely or not? That's the kind of thing that the Democrats will do. They'll print one thing, they'll rile up everybody, and then they'll tell you something totally different. Now, should this guy have been included in this text chat? Absolutely not. How did that happen? Supposedly, it was some low-level staffer in the National Security Advisor's office or in the NSA. I don't know if it was a low-level staffer, but apparently, as I understand it, and again, I don't know this for sure. I haven't talked to Mike Waltz. He's not texting me back today, which I can imagine he's not going to be texting anybody for. Maybe he had his phone taken away. You know, like when my daughter texts something too much, or I think she's using her phone I'm like, just give me that. You lost your phone for an hour. Anyway, but Mike Waltz, he apparently, I guess, gave his phone to somebody and said, set up a group. Here's who needs to go in it. And somehow, accidentally, the staffer added Jeffrey Rosenberg. Here's the article about Donald Trump and his response. Trump expresses confidence in Waltz amid war plans chat fallout. President Donald Trump expressed confidence in his national security advisor, Michael Waltz, in an interview with NBC News on Tuesday amid the fallout from senior officials, inadvertently including a journalist on a private message chain discussing airstrikes in Yemen. The Atlantic reported Monday that its editor was mistakenly included in a Signal group chat discussing sensitive war plans, shocking national security officials and members of Congress. Politico reported Monday that Waltz may be the fall guy within the White House. Michael Waltz has learned a lesson and he's a good man, Trump said in an NBC News interview. The president continued saying that the journalist's presence in the group chat had no impact at all and that the Houthi attacks were perfectly successful. That is true, by the way. The attacks went on despite the fact that Jeffrey Rosenberg was in the group chat. The attacks went on. The people who they were targeting were targeted. They were eliminated. The attacks went on without a hitch. Donald Trump was watching from the from CENTCOM command out there in Miami, and the attacks were 100% successful, no matter who was on the text chat. And Michael Waltz is a good man, and clearly he's probably learned his lesson. There are conversations happening between senior administration officials on what to do with Waltz, Politico previously reported, including forcing his resignation. You can't have recklessness as the national security advisor, one senior official who was granted anonymity to discuss internal deliberations said on Monday. In response to reporting that Waltz is possibly on the chopping block, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Tuesday morning that Trump continues to have confidence in his national security team, including Mike Waltz. Stories claiming otherwise are driven by anonymous sources who clearly do not speak to the president. Now, I would like to point something out because I know Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz is talented, qualified, intelligent. He's a Green Beret. He served. He wrote books about these things. He knows about every armed conflict. He knows about every branch of the military. If I were to go into war, Mike Waltz is the guy that I would want leading the charge. Mike Waltz is the kind of fella that has integrity. And if this was an accident, and again, I don't believe it was him. I don't believe it was him that made the accident. I think, yes, he probably said to one of his staff members or his assistant, and I know this because I've had staff members, I've had assistants, I've done this before. I've been like, hey, I'm not saying anything by my name. Hey, person that works for me, please do this thing. And they go, great, okay. And then they totally muff it up. And then guess who gets yelled at? Me. Mark, how did you let this happen? It was, I'll take care of it. It wasn't, we're working on it. I apologize on behalf, but we'll fix it. Actually, I never apologized. That's a lie right there. If I ever did anything wrong and somebody came and called me on it, I would never apologize. I'd be like, all right, calm down, number one. Number two, it was an accident. Number three, change your tone. And number four, get out of my studio. That was more what I said. But I'm just saying, he probably gave it to like one of his assistants, like I would do. I'd say, here, I did it again. Here, person that works for me, please do this. They accidentally added a number they weren't supposed to. That's it. Nobody, no harm, no foul. Is it embarrassing? Sure. Did the Houthis that were supposed to be killed get killed? Absolutely. I mean, okay, fine. Things went on. Now, if this reporter had like leaked the information before the story and the Houthis ran for cover, and the Houthis did not get executed and they were still out there bombing ships, which, by the way, they still are bombing ships, which means there's going to be more attacks. They probably won't be planned over Signal, but they'll be planned somewhere else. But anyway, back to Mike Waltz. This guy has integrity, is a patriot, loves the United States of America, and works every single day to do the right thing for his country and his countrymen and women. Alejandro Mayorkas, who was Secretary of Homeland Security, did not secure the homeland. In fact, worked every day to make the homeland less secure. He was more the Secretary of Homeland Insecurity. He opened up the border. He got rid of all of the vetting of foreign applicants. He instituted catch and release. He would bring illegal immigrants into the country by plane paid for by you, the American taxpayer. Gang members, rapists, thugs, murderers, human traffickers, drug dealers. All of these people coming, just all the fentanyl that's killing millions of Americans every single year. That fentanyl is here because Alejandro Mayorkas turned his bald head and looked the other way. Terrorists from 100 different countries represented. You have terrorists from the Middle East, terrorists from Syria, terrorists from Asia. There's terrorists in this country right now, sleeper cells that walked across the border. Why? Because Alejandro Mayorkas allowed them to do it. Alejandro Mayorkas made a spike in illegal immigration, a spike in violent crime by illegals, a spike in Haitians eating dogs, eating cats, eating the pets of the people who live there. Alejandro Mayorkas was impeached by the House of Representatives. And was Alejandro Mayorkas fired from his job? Never. Not once. Nada. Niente. Niet. Didn't happen. Alejandro Mayorkas and his actions, or rather inactions, are directly responsible for the death of Americans. Alejandro Mayorkas allowed murderous thugs to come into this country and hunt down, brutally attack, and kill American citizens. And that guy never got fired. He never got called in to the principal's office. He never got a tongue lashing from Joe Biden. All Joe Biden did was heap praise on him. And even when he was impeached by the Congress, Alejandro Mayorkas never took the fall. I'm pretty sure Mike Waltz is going to be just fine. I'm pretty sure accidentally adding a reporter to a text thread on Signal, I think he'll see this one through. I mean, keep in mind, yes, he did throw ice cream in our mail bin, but in all fairness, it looked like a trash can. I almost threw trash in there myself. In fact, after Mike Waltz threw his ice cream in there, I just used it as a trash can. Now I kind of wish I used it as a bathroom too. But that's neither here nor there. Listen, this whole thing is, I gotta be honest with you, this whole thing is just bizarre, but this is how the Democrats do. This is what the Democrats are going to continue to do this because they are so upset. They are furious that Donald Trump has put together one of the most incredible groups of individuals to save this country, and they're saving it, and they're doing it in record time. I don't even remember. Hey, Siri, how many days was it since January 20th, 2025?
It was 64 days ago.
Okay, 64 days, 2 months and 4 days. 64 days. Donald Trump has done, and his team have done an incredible job in every aspect of the world. I mean, Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz flew to Riyadh, and they got a ceasefire agreement arranged with the Ukrainian foreign minister. Did anyone see that coming? Was Joe Biden able to get that done with Anthony Blinken? No, the opposite. They just kept funding money, giving him money so that he could keep, going an ongoing war that was killing hundreds of thousands of his citizens and Russians and doing nothing but patting the pockets of Democrats. That's probably why they did it. But Donald Trump has been able to get peace in the Middle East, almost, peace in Ukraine, almost. He's gotten closer than anyone else has. In fact, Marco Rubio was talking about that in their cabinet meeting yesterday, which again is, I talked about this in the 47 Daily podcast this morning, which if you don't subscribe, the 47daily.com every single morning. Today's was a skosh late because I had to take my daughter to the bus because she's going on a trip. But it was a skosh late, but every single morning, all the news from the White House to my mouth to your ears for the next 4 years. Download and listen to the 47 Daily every day. I talk about this. It's less like a presidential cabinet and more like an assembly of the League of Justice or the Justice League, or I don't even know what you got. It's a bunch of superheroes getting together at the White House. And when they had the cameras in there and they showed you everybody, you were like, oh my God, this could be the best cabinet we've ever seen. Every one of these people is a superstar in and of their own right. And when you put them together, unstoppable force. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, in the cabinet meeting discussing what Donald Trump has been able to do for peace where there is none in every region around the globe.
Yeah, Mr. President, first of all, I think the American people should be proud that we have a president that's promoting peace and the end of conflict on this planet. This is a war that's gone on for 3 years, as you pointed out, that, as you rightly pointed out, would have never happened had you been president, but now It's here, and it needs to be brought to an end. There is no military solution to this war. It has to end through negotiation. And there's only one leader in the world that's capable of bringing the two sides to a table, and that's our president, the President of the United States, President Trump. And that's what he's done. And so today, even as we speak, we have teams on the ground in Saudi Arabia meeting with the respective sides in the hopes of making progress towards this outcome that we all want to see. And I think that the country owes you a great debt of gratitude, and the world, really, because, I mean, you're the only leader in the planet that can bring the two sides together to bring an end to this conflict, and that's what you've done. And you've done it despite, impediments from other countries and others who maybe have different opinions about how this should go. But ultimately, I think that the only chance we have for peace is through the president's leadership, and you've shown that, and we hope it'll bear fruit. And today will hopefully be one step more in that direction.
And J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, who's also been crucial in these talks. Remember, it was J.D. Vance. And by the way, if you're even shocked that J.D. Vance was talking smack about the Europeans, it was J.D. Vance who said to Keir Starmer to his face, "You guys have squashed free speech." It was J.D. Vance who instigated the argument with Vladimir Zelensky, which caused Donald Trump to blow up in his face and toss him out, which eventually had him groveling back so that he could sign this minerals deal, which Donald Trump believes will be signed at sometime this week. J.D. Vance is as crucial a key to this administration and their foreign policy as any other person. And he also reminded you that Donald Trump is the only president who ever brought peace to the Middle East.
If you think about what happened with the Abraham Accords, one of the great diplomatic breakthroughs under the first Trump administration, really in the last 30 or 40 years of American history in the Middle East, and the Biden administration did absolutely nothing with it. Built on it, not at all, added 0 additional countries. Purely out of political spite, the Biden administration, I think, hurt the United States and really hurt the project of world peace. That has changed. Luckily, about 2 months ago, we got a new president. And that president has given us the task of building out the Abraham Accords, adding new countries to it. And really what you see is a lot of these countries that have historical, ethnic, or religious hatreds want to build. They want to build new artificial intelligence. They want to build new real estate projects. They want their citizens to become rich and prosperous and peaceful. And they're setting to the side some of those old hatreds under the leadership of President Trump. So it's early, but we made a lot of progress, and we'll keep on making progress, sir.
Yeah, there you go. So look, we've got progress in the Middle East. We've got progress in Ukraine. We've got progress here at home. I think one of the most undervalued, or not undervalued, but I think one of the most under the radar administration cabinet positions that Donald Trump chose. Who, I mean, you want to talk about rock stars? Yes, Kristi Noem's a rock star. She's working with Tom Homan. They're getting all the illegals out. They're closing down the border. We're down to like 99% fewer border crossings. We've got planes full of illegals flying to Venezuela, despite what Judge Boasberg says. Kristi Noem's on it, man. She knows her stuff, and she is getting her done. But Brooke Rollins, you've never met anybody so excited about agriculture. Brooke Rollins is the Secretary of Agriculture, and this woman, I mean, she gets excited about agriculture the way I get excited about a poker tournament. She gets excited about agriculture the way, some people get excited about, I don't know, going to Disney World. Like when my kids were little, we would go to Harry Potter. I remember the first time I took them to Universal Studios to see Harry Potter Land, and they just couldn't stop talking about it. They couldn't stop all the way down. They were like this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. And then we got there and they had an amazing time. And then we left, and the whole way back I was like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? This is how this woman is when she talks about eggs. And that's what you want. You want somebody who's going to be your Secretary of Agriculture, who gets jacked when she loves agriculture the way Hunter Biden loves blow and Russian prostitutes. That's all I'm saying.
I think the first thing that's really remarkable to note is that the prices of eggs under the 4 years of Joe Biden increased 237%. 237% in those 4 years, and yet it wasn't covered in the press at all. No one talked about the price of eggs in the summer of last year, for example, from the media. So, of course, the president wins and he is inaugurated, and the next day everyone is yelping about why the price of eggs are so high. So it was certainly one of many, many issues we took on under the 4 years of Joe Biden. We had the cost of input go up 30% for all of our agriculture products. At the same time, the trade deficit increased $49 billion. So it was zero under the first Trump administration. And then under Joe Biden, we sold $49 billion less of our ag products around the world. Then you combine that with the avian bird flu. And I know I've talked to a lot of you in the press on this over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But listen, here's the deal. The president, under his vision and support, we released about a month ago a very significant plan on how to bring the price of eggs down. It included 5 prongs. I won't go into it now because I don't want to bore everyone. But since that day, since we released that plan regarding biosecurity, repopulation, importing eggs, research, and then deregulating, taking those onerous rules off of our farmers, our egg-laying farmers. Since that time, the price of eggs, the wholesale price of eggs, has come down 53%. So we're going to keep working on it. Listen, it's not something you solve overnight. Avian bird flu and some of the other animal diseases, we're working across the government, several partners out in the cabinet on that, especially my friend Secretary Kennedy over at HHS. But we have a long-term solution, but at least for now, in the short term, thanks to President Trump and so many that have worked so hard, the price of eggs are coming down, as well as the price of groceries. So thank you, sir, for the opportunity to lead on that.
She could have gone on for hours. She could have gone on for hours and hours and hours and hours. That's the kind of people you want in your cabinet. You want people who are excited to be there, who know what their job is, who know what their skill set is, and who are working every single day for the American people. You want people who are getting up and unlike Jasmine Crockett wakes up every single day. She goes, how am I going to get my name in the media today? How am I going to get myself go viral today? That's what Jasmine Crockett says. So she puts on her fake accent and her fake hair and she gets out there and she makes fun of a guy in a wheelchair. And that's what Jasmine Crockett does. That's how she's working for the American people. Brooke Rollins is like, how am I going to get chickens to lay more eggs today so egg prices can come down? You know what? I'm going to come up with a 5-pronged approach. There's going to be this and that and the other, and then egg-laying farmers and something about chicken refabrication. I don't even know. She's like making AI-generated eggs. I don't know what it is, but she's got it under control, and I trust her. I know that she's going to bring down my egg prices. She already has. That's the kind of person that you want. By the way, you guys have to hear this too. Brooke Rollins, she talked about some of the cuts. There was a big thing about Doge. Doge has been cutting like everything. Whoop-pack, whoop-pow, skapow. It's like Fruit Ninja. That's what this is. It's a huge game of Fruit Ninja, and Elon Musk is going for the high score. And he went into the Department of Agriculture and he looked with Brooke Rollins and said, where's the waste? And look what they found. In the Department of Agriculture.
Let me just add to that, and thank you. We just had a wonderful cabinet meeting, all aligned on certainly the effort to realign the government. But even at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we've canceled a $300,000 contract educating on food justice for queer and transgender farmers.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, they canceled millions of dollars for education for food equality for transgender and queer farmers. Did I hear that right?
Francisco, food justice for queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco.
Food justice for queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco. How many queer and transgender farmers are there in San Francisco? And do we really need millions and millions of dollars to teach them about food justice? And also, what is food justice or injustice or whatever it was? This is the kind of waste. When they say there's waste everywhere, there's waste everywhere. These fraudulent, these fraudsters, these abusive people, the waste, fraud, abuse they're talking about, it's in every aspect. These crooks and criminals in the Democrat Party, they're able to figure out every dime that they can squeeze out of the government. If you pay taxes, they're going to figure out a way to get it. And if they can't get it from the Treasury, and if they can't get it from the Department of Defense, and if they can't get it from the Small Business Administration, if they can't get it from USAID, they're going to go and get it from the Department of Agriculture. They're going to come up with a program to teach food justice to queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco. And it's going to cost millions and millions of your dollars.
A similar contract we canceled in New York, again, educating transgender and queer farmers on food justice and food equality.
I'm with her. Food justice and inequality for queer farmers in New York?
Not even sure what that means, but apparently the last administration wanted to put our taxpayer dollars towards that. We canceled a $600,000 contract out of Louisiana that was studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men, a $600,000 contract.
Okay. I understand that they like to study transgender men's menstrual cycles. I understand that's been a thing. The menstrual cycles for transgender men have been studied for a very long time, and of course, a large expense to the American taxpayer. $600,000 in Louisiana. But why is that a Department of Agriculture expenditure? How does that fall under the Department of Agriculture? Unless, of course, they're trying to figure out maybe we can get some roosters to lay eggs. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe when Joe Biden killed all those chickens, he goes, I killed all those chickens, bird flu. We got to get the egg prices to come down. I guarantee somebody in his administration probably said, if men have menstrual cycles and can give birth, then maybe the roosters can too. Maybe it's not just the hens who can lay eggs, but maybe the cocks can lay eggs. And we need a study. Give me $600,000 and I'll study menstrual cycle in transgender men. And then we'll see if we can come up with some transgender cocks and they can lay eggs. And that'll solve the egg crisis. Is that what was going on in the Department of Agriculture?
We canceled another contract out of a university in the middle of the country that focused on getting more diversity, equity, and inclusion into our pest management industry.
All right. So there's, I don't want to get sexist here, but they were paying money to a university that she didn't want to name somewhere in the Midwest to get more diversity, equity, and inclusion into the pest management sector and industry. Now, again, I have a daughter and a wife, been around the block. When there's a pest in the house, there's no diversity, equity, and inclusion. If there's a gecko, and there's lots of them here in Florida, if there's a rodent of some kind, if there's a cockroach or a spider, there's no diversity, equity, and inclusion. The man is summoned, usually by some large, screeching, blood-curdling scream, to whatever area of the house where said pest is to eliminate it. So, I don't know. Look, that's one of those things where diversity, what woman out there wants to go into the pest management? What man does? Men usually do it because their wives tell them to. That's all I'm saying.
Again, these are nonsensical. It makes zero sense to use taxpayer dollars to fund these. I know these are just a few examples of the hundreds and hundreds that we have found.
Yeah, hundreds and hundreds. Look, there's so much waste in every day. Think about it. This is what the Democrats do. The Democrats look, and some Republicans, I should point out as well. The Democrats and some Republicans look at the government of the United States and they go, okay, we got the power now. We're here. How do we get the money? How do we milk every last drop? How do we get every last drop we can out of this government? How do we come up with a program that's going to allow us to fund one of our friends or our cronies or our family members? Because look, all these people, they got an aunt who gets a grant. My aunt got a grant from the Joe Biden administration. Because guess what? She voted for him. They lead some kind of voter registration, then they set up some phony study, and then they get $600,000 from the government. That's how these things work. That's how these things have worked forever. That's how they worked under the Democrats, not anymore. And fun fact, they worked that way under the Republicans too. We have a lot of Republicans who become very wealthy when they went into public service, which, by the way, allow me just a moment, if you will. Grant me just, because I have kind of a pet peeve with a lot of Republicans. First, though, I'd like to thank Missy. Missy sent a $20 super chat. Wait, that's it. And she wrote, "Hi, Mark, love the show. Could you please remind all your Wisconsin listeners to vote early for the critical Supreme Court race on April the 1st? Missy, that is a great reminder. And yes, we will 100% remind everybody in Wisconsin. If you're in Wisconsin, and I know I have people watching right now who live in Wisconsin. I know you people out there. Julie, tell everybody in Wisconsin what has to happen. There is a crucial election. There's a crucial election, and early voting is going on right now. And Wisconsin's upcoming Supreme Court race is going to basically It's going to basically figure out whether or not the Republicans can maintain control of the House. You've got Susan Crawford, who's the liberal, who wants to stop Donald Trump's agenda and who will 100% lead the charge to rewrite the districts. And they'll rewrite the districts, or rather by the way, to make sure that they are Democrats, that they're blue districts, and that all the red districts will disappear, and that the Democrats will have more representation in the House of Representatives come 2026. That's the first thing that's going to happen. And she's running against Schimmel, who's the Republican, who I believe is not in the lead right now, which kind of stinks. But again, early voting, it leans Democrat. But it's crucial. It's crucial to maintain the House of This is how these things work. You've got a local Supreme Court election in Wisconsin, or a statewide election in Wisconsin, that could affect Donald Trump's agenda. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to your state politics and your state representatives and your state Supreme Court people. And I think really the big benefit about Donald Trump coming to power and Joe Biden, really the big benefit of COVID, ever since COVID, more people have paid attention to what their state representatives do, how their state representatives vote, and how their state representatives are voting either for or against them. Which brings me to something which is kind of a pet peeve. For a while now, I have not been a fan of my representative in District 5, a guy by the name of John Rutherford. He used to be the sheriff, and then when he was too old to be the sheriff, he decided that he would retire to the Congress. Why do I say he would retire to the Congress? Well, because he ran for Congress, and being a sheriff, he easily got the nomination, and he was easily elected because it's a deep red district. And then he spent the next few years voting with Democrats, and padding his pockets because his net worth increased like you wouldn't believe. $5 million in something like 6 years. Matt Gaetz did a whole expose on The Blaze about John Rutherford and other people like him. Fun fact, John Rutherford sits on two committees. He sits on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. And the Appropriations Committee is where you go to figure out where the government's going to be spending money so you can make stock trades before that money is spent. And the Ethics Committee is where you go when people find out that you are making unethical stock trades and they complain about you. And fun fact, John Rutherford has had over 120 ethics violations for his stock trading. And since he's on the Ethics Committee, guess how many were thrown out? All of them. But I digress. John Rutherford did something that a lot of Republicans are doing, and I just don't understand this. He is ducking town hall meetings because he's afraid to talk to Democrats about Doge. This was a news report from, I don't even know, some news station here in Jacksonville.
This sign sits in front of Congressman John Rutherford's office. It says this office belongs to the people of the 5th Congressional District of Florida. But today, locals with concerns about the federal government and Elon Musk's Doge agency couldn't get past the front door.
They were concerned about the direction of the federal government, but their concerns grew when they weren't able to speak to the congressman or his staff.
Where's our congressman? Where's our congressman?
We want to speak to our congressperson and have a voice, because that's the way democracy is supposed to work.
Kathy Renshaw said she's a registered Republican.
We're trying to get his attention, to pay attention. His constituents are concerned. I've written to him. I've sent him notes. I'm disappointed in what's going on in this country.
Earlier in the day, a staffer told First Coast News that Congressman Rutherford was in Jacksonville, but multiple members of the group were met with a locked door when they tried to speak with the congressman.
All we want to do is talk to our elected official, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he's nowhere to be found. This is happening a lot. And I know what people say. These are paid protesters. Not here. Yes, there are paid protesters in other districts. Not here. Nobody's paying these people to go stand on the street and yell, "Where's our congressman?" Are they Democrats? Yes. Are they liberals? Yes. But they're constituents. I mean, this whole ducking of town hall meetings, I just don't get. If you're elected to Congress, okay, you're elected as a Republican, you're elected as a Democrat, but you're elected for the entire district. And you may not like what everybody says about you, about your policies, about what's going on in the government, but it is your job to listen to them whine about it. It's your job to listen to them complain about it. I mean, I was on the radio for 20 years. You know how many complaint calls I got? A lot. And I listened to them and I talked to them and I took people's opinions and then I crumpled them up and threw them in the trash can. But I never shirked my responsibility from hearing complaints. And there's a lot of Republicans out there that are doing it. And Don't tell me that you're scared that these Democrats are going to take over these town hall meetings, because there are ways to make sure that the town hall meeting is not filled with paid propagandists and paid agitators. You can have a ticketed event where you answer questions. You can make sure that the people that show up are registered voters in District 5 or whatever district you happen to be in. It happens all the time. I go to the REC meeting. The first thing they ask you is, are you a registered Republican? And I go, yeah. And they go, prove it. And I got to show them my license. I got to show them my card. They check it on the registry. And once I'm verified, they let me in the meeting. Why? Because they don't want Democrats in there wreaking havoc. They don't want paid protesters. These people, John Rutherford and the rest of them, they're scared. They're chicken. They were elected. They were elected to represent every single person, and now they're not doing it. There's a way around it. And these people, while they may be Democrats, they still, you may not like their opinions. I think John Rutherford would actually get along really well with them because he votes with the Democrats like 75% of the time. They're all like, give money to more Ukraine, give more money to Ukraine. And John Rutherford's like, no problem. I've already given $180 billion. I don't know. I don't think that as an elected representative, you should ever hide from the public, whether they're going to yell at you or not. And that's what I hear. We can't have town hall meetings. Why? They're going to yell at us. Who cares, man? Man up. Come on. Grow a pair and go face the opposition. If anything, Democrats yelling at you and you standing there and taking it is going to make you more attractive to Republican voters. Let them look like the lunatic left-wing liberals that they are. Give everybody an opportunity to see how unhinged these people are, how much they hate Donald Trump, and how nonsensical they are. And you will come out looking like a hero. I don't understand it. It's simple to me, but again, I have common sense. I put America first. I'm not in it to pad my pocketbook. I'm just in it because, well, I want to save the Republic, as you can tell because of the title of this podcast. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. We had a Rumble rant, by the way, which I wanted to share, and I will share here in just a minute. By the way, don't forget to subscribe on Rumble. Subscribe on Rumble, YouTube, subscribe to the podcast if you're listening to the podcast. And I do want to thank MG Smith 59. Let me see if I can pull this up. MG Smith 59, who wrote, it's going to take time, but Rumble is going to be my pick over YouTube. There it is right there. It's going to take time, but Rumble is going to be my pick over YouTube. I just lost it somehow. Anyway, we appreciate that Rumble rate. We appreciate all the support from everybody. And we appreciate, if you want to pick Rumble over YouTube, do it. If you want to pick YouTube over Rumble, you may. I will continue to be everywhere. I will be in your face every single day. Everywhere you turn, when you tap your phone, the first thing I want you to see is me screaming at you about something the Democrats are doing. I want you to see me explaining to you how they're coming after you, how they're trying to attack you and your family and your finances and your future and your security. I want everybody to know that our Constitution is sacred and that it has enemies and that we've all got to stay informed. We've all got to stay inspired. We've all got to stay strong. We've got to make sure that our weapons are sharp so that we can continue anytime, anywhere, any place to fight, and save the Republic. One last thing before we go. Tomorrow night, I'm hosting at 8 o'clock my Dollars for Followers Masterclass, which is, again, very important. This whole scandal yesterday we talked about where the conservative influencers were caught because they were selling their audience. That's hard. That's not the way you want to make money online. You always want to make sure that you're serving people and offering them something that they actually want and can benefit from. And I had a big conversation about it today in my Gain group, which I'll get into later. But if you want to join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock, March 26th, Wednesday, March 26th, 8 p.m., make $1 for every follower you have. I'm going to show you exactly how I create content and prepare content and come up with offers and offer it in a palatable and pleasing way to my audience and actually create positive change in people's lives in exchange for money. And if you have social media and a business, this can transform both. You can transform your social media, you can transform your business, and you can do it at the exact same time. My goal is to teach you how to make $1 for every follower you have by the end of the masterclass. It's only 60 minutes. It's 60 minutes out of your day, and by the time you hang up or exit out or whatever, go to bed, you're going to wake up the next morning, and you're going to know exactly how I make $1 for every follower I have and how you can make $1 for every follower you have. And it's massively discounted, only $17. This is top secret stuff. I should be doing this on a Signal chat, but I'm not, but it's all a Zoom call. But you can go to dollarsforfollowers.com right now. You can learn all about the masterclass. You can see exactly what's included. You can learn about the live content audits. You can learn about all the stuff that we're going to be doing. And then, of course, you click the green button right here, and then you register for the class. We'll send you all the information. We'll send you a Zoom link. We'll send you an invitation to a private Facebook group where you can get started right away, where we'll post a replay where you can meet other students who are going to be in the class. There is a 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee, which means if you pay $17, and you spend an hour with me and you learn all my secrets and you go, you know what? That wasn't worth 17 measly dollars, which I'm sure most people spend on coffee at least once a week. Then we'll give you all your money back, because I guarantee this is going to be 10 times. You're going to look at this and be like, how did Mark Kaye only charge me $17 for all that information? And if you have 17 followers on social media, the goal of the class is to teach you how to make that $17 back just like that. So there's really no risk. dollarsforfollowers.com. dollarsforfollowers.com. We had a woman 2 weeks ago, Mary, and maybe tomorrow what I'll do is I'll play the video for you. But Mary immediately, after just a couple of days, took what she taught, what I taught her on the class, what she learned on the class, and she instituted it, and she made $200 with one post on Facebook. The next day, she did it again, another $200. That's a total of $400 from 2 posts on Facebook. This stuff works if you know how to work it. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. dollarsforfollowers.com. dollarsforfollowers.com. Go there right now, register, just hit there's a big green button that says join the Dollars for Followers Masterclass. Hit that button and I will see you tomorrow. If you aren't making at least $1 for every follower you have on social media, you're leaving serious money on the table. But it's not your fault. The game has totally changed, but nobody told you what the new rules are. Right now, platforms like YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, they are begging to take your content and push it out in front of millions of people. And then you can turn those people into followers and turn those followers into dollars. If you aren't doing that yet, not only are you missing out on huge profits, but I can guarantee it's because you aren't doing one of the following 3 things. Number 1, social media has totally changed, but you're still playing by the old rules. The new algorithms on all of these platforms are now working in your favor. If you're a small creator or you don't have a lot of followers, social media can make you go viral, even like the big creators that you've been following your entire life. But if you're still posting like you did 5 years ago, if you're still using the same old strategies, then you're working against the algorithm and it's not helping you grow your audience and your bottom line. Number 2, you're focused on the wrong metric. When most people start creating on social media, they do it for likes and subs and shares. But likes and subs and shares don't pay the bills. You need to alter your focus and start creating content that creates cash flow. You need to start creating content that will attract not people to like your content, but to pay you for your offerings. And number 3, the truth is you don't need millions of followers to make millions of dollars.